Good morning, Fort McMurray, Wood Buffalo, and the rest of the world. You've tuned in to the Mac City Morning Show. I'm your host, Elliot Pierre, and as per usual, we're going to start the show off the same way we start every episode off, with a moment of gratitude. I know you could be doing a million other things with your time, and the fact that you choose to spend it with us truly does mean the world to me, so thank you very much. On that note, Tanner, hit him with the intro.
How's she cutting me, loves? You're listening to the Mac City Morning Show.
All right, and we're back. We got a good one today. I'm really looking forward to this conversation because every time I have a chance to sit down with this individual, we have a great time. So it's going to be that, just documenting it this time. As you guys already know, I don't introduce my guests. I let them do that themselves. So on that note, can you please tell everybody at home who you are and what you're about?
So my name is Amanda Holloway. I am a mom to a beautiful boy, 12-year-old boy Malachi, wife to an incredible husband, John, and I also have the privilege to work in the social profit sector here in Fort McMurray as a social worker with Canadian Mental Health Association.
There we go. Very cool. Okay, before we get into anything else, I just got to ask. I know you've moved recently, and when I say recently, I mean in the last little bit. How are you enjoying living in society again?
Oh, it's amazing to be able to be out around people. We were just chatting, obviously, before the show started. We were at a gala this past weekend, 2 weekends ago.
Yeah.
And normally that's something that I would run away from.
That's right.
I did have a moment actually before we even went out to the gala where I said to my husband, "Do you just want to stay home and eat chips? I'm fine. I don't want to go."
Yeah.
But he kind of forced me out of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
And I'm so happy I did. It's so good to just see people out again and enjoying each other, and hopefully it stays.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
I have a question because maybe you were paying a little bit more attention than I was. You know how they were giving out like those fake diamonds?
Yeah.
Did somebody win?
As far as I know, no.
Oh, good.
As far as, do you still have yours?
I still have mine. I never got it tested. And
Where is it?
It's not here, I'll tell you that. Yeah. But during the night, I never heard them announce it. And I know there was people walking around saying like, "Hey, can I test your diamond?" But they never came to me. And if they did, I was like, "Not right now. I'm in the middle of a conversation."
Yeah.
So I still have my potentially real
You
diamond.
could probably have it.
So nobody claimed it
Not
that night.
at the end of the night, it had not been claimed. We had even purchased like little extra baggies because
Okay.
I really wanted the diamond, but yeah, no. And so Prestige was down in the corner testing them.
Yeah.
But as far as I know, it wasn't claimed.
Okay.
Oh, go home and check your seat pocket.
I am. Well, I know exactly where it is. So, okay. That could be
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, that was
You're
a lovely
off to
night.
Prestige.
Yeah,
later
that's right.
today.
I am. Yeah, I had a great time at the gala. So big shout out to Dennis and Bran Connect for posting that. He put another event on a little while ago too, the Naughty or Nice Christmas Ugly Sweater kind of party.
That was this past weekend.
I didn't make it to that one.
I didn't go. One in a month is probably enough for
Yeah,
me.
that's
Like
right.
as much as I loved it,
Yeah.
I did find that I had to take a few days to just recharge my social batteries.
That's right.
Because it was
because you're not an extrovert.
I am not.
No.
I am not. Sometimes people think I am, but I can fake it really well.
Right.
I just love to be at home. I love to chill. I'm not. Work is as social as I kind of get, and
Right.
then I'm very selective in
Right.
how often I go out. So
Yeah.
that was a lot for me.
No doubt.
Yeah.
So I see pictures of your little boy that you post online. He's boxing. How's that going for you? How did he get involved in that? And as a mom, how do you feel about him potentially getting hit by other individuals?
It's the bizarrest when he's actually done like a couple of competitive fights, and it's the bizarrest thing, yelling at your 10 or 11-year-old to like punch another kid in the head.
Yeah.
It's such a weird experience.
Right. He's good though.
He is incredible.
Yeah.
Malachi is very athletic, and he's very naturally gifted in lots of sports, and boxing is just one of those ones that he gravitated to. We had an incredible studio here. It was called Sweet Science Boxing.
Okay.
And Malachi was doing martial arts, and he wasn't really enjoying it.
Yeah.
And he had seen boxing, and he wanted to try it.
Right.
And so we walked him into the studio, and I can't even remember, he was young, like 6 or 7, maybe 7.
Okay.
Too young, in essence, for the studio. And the coach was kind of like, I'll give him a try. If he can manage to pay attention and do it and listen,
Right.
He can come. If he can't, I'll let you know.
Yeah.
And Malachi was just eager, and yeah, he loved it. So
Okay.
unfortunately, the studio didn't make it after the flood, but he
Right.
still maintains doing it. We have some incredible private coaches in town who
Okay.
do it. So yeah, he loves it. He hasn't had the opportunity to fight, obviously with COVID,
Right.
but yeah, it's a cool sport. But it is bizarre. It's
Yeah.
really weird allowing
Yeah.
I'll never forget the first time he actually ever got punched and bled.
Right.
He wears headgear, so for
Yeah.
anyone who's like, oh,
Yeah.
it's,
Hey,
we keep
listen.
it safe.
That's right.
But yeah, the first time he had a little bit of a bloody nose, he was like, oh, cool.
Yeah. Not cool. Yeah, my baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know what? We got him into it because he's always been a small kid, and he is an empath like his mom. He's just his heart bleeds, and so we're finding that he was kind of a little bit of a natural target, being the smaller kid in school, to be roughed around a little bit.
Right.
And not that we're condoning violence,
Yeah.
but we wanted him to know how to protect himself.
That's right. That's right.
So that's kind of why we started him in those sports, and he just developed a natural talent for it. So.
You know, I find most, like, growing up with like kids, obviously, I find most individuals who are in some form of martial arts or boxing or some form of like physical like activity, those kids know how to mess you up,
Yeah.
but never do. They're
No.
like, they have the confidence and to just know, like, hey, I don't need to mess. They're always the friendliest people.
Yeah.
Always. So, like, when I say always, I use that generally, but in my experience, they're always the friendliest people, and they don't seem to be the ones that get into the fights.
Well, no, because I think that's the thing that people don't understand. And what I love about the sport of boxing is it's so much about respect.
That's right.
It's not dirty. It's not about being aggressive. It's a very skilled sport.
Yeah.
But Malachi has learned so much about confidence.
That's right.
And learned so much about, embracing his strengths. And, so I'm never concerned about him being reckless with it, because that's such a core. And when he was in that studio, you weren't allowed to be boastful. You weren't allowed to be showing off. It was, you were
Right.
there to learn and to be attentive and to be respectful. And
Right.
so for us, the biggest thing that we enjoyed about it was his confidence and how he can, just be more secure in himself, and he doesn't need to be quote unquote aggressive.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. That's awesome.
yeah.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
You've been in Fort McMurray for a really long time now.
Long time.
Long time, but where are you from originally?
I mean, the capital of Fort McMurray.
Okay.
I'm from Newfoundland.
Right.
Grew up in a little rural outport in Newfoundland, and came to Fort McMurray in 2006 for a practicum. I was in social work school.
Okay.
Had a boyfriend here, so came to visit and fell head over heels in love with this community.
Yeah.
Fell in love with the people and said, if I could ever afford it, I'll come back.
Right.
Because that was in 2006, and that's when
Yeah.
it was like
Crazy.
it was wild here. And so, and then so I was working at the Center of Hope then as an intake worker, and said I would always come back. And then in 2009 was living in Calgary, and the ED of who was my mentor was retiring, and she had kind of reached out, because I always joked with her. I was like, someday I'm going to take your job. Like, someday I want
That's
your
hilarious.
job.
Yeah.
And she called and she said, I'm retiring. She said, so do you still want that job? And
Wow.
within 30 days, we had packed up our house in Calgary and moved here. So
Yeah.
then we stayed until 2013, I believe.
Okay.
Did the traditional Newfie thing, you
Yeah.
know, gotta move home.
That's
so
right, that's right.
we moved home and went, what did we do? Loved it. Don't get me wrong. So
Yeah.
happy we did it. It was incredible for our son, and I'm happy that we got to spend that time with our family. But it just solidified for us that we loved Alberta. We love Fort McMurray. And so, we came back in 2016.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, Fort McMurray, like, it's funny that you said did the traditional Newfie thing, because it is the truth. You see a lot of that.
Yep.
And but it always, not always, but more often than not, turns out to be like, hey, you came back. You're like, yeah, it just wasn't the same. It wasn't what I thought it was going to be when I went home. I wanted to come
You
back.
look through it. You look at it through rose-colored glasses.
That's right.
You know,
That's right.
I blame it on Republic of Doyle. I'm not joking. Like
Okay.
that was, I used to watch, I think it was like Thursday nights, and Republic of Doyle was on, and I would cry.
Right.
I'm like, oh, you know, I gotta go home.
Yeah.
And then I went home, and I'm like, they must have shot that entire season on the one sunny day.
That's right.
Because it's like the weather's not like this. And again, it's such a beautiful province.
Yeah.
It's home, and it will forever be home.
Yeah.
But it just wasn't for us. And
That's right.
Yeah. And my husband was commuting, and we were not about that life. It wasn't.
That's right.
It wasn't for
It
us.
wasn't conducive. Yeah.
No. Yeah. And it was actually the fire. When the fire happened, my husband was commuting, and he was home on his rotation when the fire, you know, the evacuation, everything happened.
Yeah.
And when he came back, it just, maybe poor choices of words,
Yeah.
but it just ignited a passion for this community.
Right.
And same thing for me, home, watching it
Yeah.
from home. And we went, no, we want to be there.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's
So,
really cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, listen, I just got the signal from Tanner. He's ready for the Mac City Minutes. We're going to throw it over to him. He's going to ask you some questions. I don't know what he's going to ask you, so I wish you the best of luck.
be
Tanner,
kind,
hit her with the Mac City
Tanner.
Minute.
Alrighty, question number 1. What is your favorite way to spend a night in Fort McMurray?
I mean, that's easy. It's sitting at home, watching TV with my husband or my kid, or in my hot tub. There's lots to do in Fort McMurray, but yeah, I'm a homebody. So
Question number 2. What is your favorite part of raising a child in this community?
the incredible opportunity that my son has. He has the opportunity to do all kinds of sports and activities, and even this just past weekend taken to a climbing wall, and it was
Right.
there's always something new and interesting, and we love being outdoors, and there's no better place than Fort McMurray.
Go.
Question number 3. What is the first thing about Fort McMurray that you fell in love with?
The people, hands down. It's the only place where you might not have family, but you have so much family, because your friends truly become that. So
Question number 4. What is the thing you missed the most about the community when you left?
the people, the people. It was. It's hard to explain, and everybody kind of, you know what, likes to rag on Fort McMurray sometimes, and I've had to spend a lot of time trying to explain just why you love it so much, and it's difficult to put into words, but there's just something about the people who choose to call this place home because there's an intention, and they just, I don't know. That's what I miss the most.
And your final question. What is the biggest surprise you got from living in Fort McMurray for the first time?
The biggest surprise. Oh gosh, maybe just, I don't know how pretty it was here. When I first moved here, coming from Newfoundland, had heard kind of all the bad stuff. So when I first came here, going, oh, that's not what it's
right.
actually like. So I think that was kind of the biggest learning for me, just how scenic
Yeah.
and beautiful this region is.
Yeah.
So
And those have been your 5 questions.
easy.
Yeah. I think the people thing, where it comes down to, is obviously like there's a huge East Coast influence up here. So if for anybody who's ever not been to the East Coast, I've spent a lot of time over there. It's super friendly.
Yes.
And so that's part of like the fabric of the East Coast. And because, like you said, so many East Coasters live up here, we get that. But the other component I truly believe is because the majority of people outside of like myself and Tanner, and there's some other unicorns, most people aren't from here. They're from somewhere else.
Yep.
And so when you come here from somewhere else, that's a hard experience to go through. But when the majority of the people have gone through what you've gone through, they show sympathy. And they say, hey, listen, I've been where you've been. I know what that feels like. Let me help you out. Let me be a little bit more friendly because I've been in your shoes. And
Isn't that empathy?
Empathy, yes. And because of that, I feel like that's the undertone of Fort McMurray in regards to, listen, I don't have my family here. Do you want to be part of my family as my support system?
Yeah.
And then that's a ripple effect.
Totally.
So, yeah, it's a cool place to be.
It is.
You don't get it everywhere, that's for sure.
No, and that's like old school traditional Newfie mom.
Yeah.
And even she says that oftentimes, again, that loneliness of, wishing I was there, but she
Right.
always says you just always have so many good people there. So it's just that added layer of comfort. And I think it's totally that.
Yeah.
Most people don't necessarily have those connections. So they're very intentional in embracing other people and being kind and being, you know, supportive to one another.
right.
And I think that, it just makes such a cool little space.
Now, for your real job, you are a social worker.
Yes.
How are things going now? You're back to being in the office again. I don't know this personally, but I see it on the news, like that people are having issues because of mental health issues, because COVID, being lockdown, everything else. How are you seeing that in your industry? What's it looking like?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty prevalent. People's mental wellness is not great. I think we have added layers here because of, you know, fire recovery, flood recovery, global pandemic that just won't quit. And, you know, but we're seeing it on so many levels. It's just so big, and we've never been through this.
That's right.
You know, and it's been 2 years, and a lot of everybody's talking about mental health, but and there's definitely crisis happening, but there's also just an overwhelming sense of just numbness, I think, for people, and just being sort of done with it,
right?
Knowing that they're not coping well, but not quite sure what to do with that. I even know myself, I'm very self-aware when it comes to mental health. I've been open about my own mental health challenges and journey, and work within that field, and even find myself being like, oh wow, you're not paying attention to your mental health, like what's happening, just because I think it's just so overwhelming for people,
right?
And there's no real, I guess, end in sight, so it kind of makes people just want to turtle.
That's right.
A little bit, right?
So for people at home who are struggling, what are some resources that they can kind of get involved in or like look into?
Yeah, you know what? This is another thing I love about our community is that, you know, when there's needs, there's people there. We have so many wonderful programs, agencies in the region who provide mental health services and supports. Shameless plug, Canadian Mental Health Association being one of them, where we have lots of courses and peer support that we offer to the community. Other great social profits like Some Other Solutions, who provide counseling and support in the community. So there's lots out there. I think there's also just been a sense, though, that people have also been inundated with a lot of stuff. Right. I don't know if you noticed this, but just everything online and Zooms and, you know, resources and so, you know, I would just say to people, just do your research, look around, explore, you know, pick up a phone, call a place like Canadian Mental Health Association, and we can help. You know, if it's not us, we can help direct you to the right space. But yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah, that's why I wanted you to talk about it, because I feel like you just nailed it. Like there's a lot of noise in regards to like, where do I even start? I want help, but now I'm overwhelmed with everything that I'm seeing. Which one is the one I go with? I'm obviously a little bit maybe embarrassed to make this phone call. How do I get started? And so, just like what you just said, take time, figure out which one works, and then like go for it, right?
Yeah, you know, it's very noisy out there right now, I think, in regards to mental health, and it's overwhelming, and it's one of those things that it's so hard to take that first step to get to reach out for help or support, or to know like, what do I need? And I think a lot of times people think mental health, I need a therapist or a counselor, or I need a psychiatrist, but there's so much more than that. There's a broad spectrum of supports and services out there, and so it can be overwhelming. You're inundated with it, you know, but if you can just pause, reach out to a place, make a phone call, and there's people there who can help you navigate those sorts of things.
That's perfect. No, it's crucial. I'm an annoyingly positive individual. Like it's a bit of an issue.
Only if you're a negative individual.
I guess so. But like I know I'm on this end of the spectrum. And even myself during this time frame, like I've recognized, like, man, I was chipper today, or like mentally I'm a little bit down today, and like I'm pretty introspective, so like I can identify when this is happening.
You're positive about when you're negative too.
I am, because
like,
I am.
Ah, shucks, I guess I'm in a bad mood today. That's really terrible. Darn. And you're like, nobody is that positive about being negative.
Yeah. But if somebody like me like can identify like, wow, I'm kind of struggling right now and I'm on this end of the spectrum, it's horrifying to think of somebody who is a depressive or somebody who is just like teetering on that edge. It's great that the supports are there if they can utilize and find them.
Totally. And this is the thing, mental health doesn't discriminate.
Yeah.
Mental health or, poor mental health can touch anybody, right?
Universal.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's universal, right? So it's, even for people like you, I can imagine you're incredibly social and you love, that must have been challenging for you to
100%.
exist in a world where that was taken away from you, right?
Hence the Mac City Morning Show. I got my little, I got my fix.
Your hit.
Yeah.
Yeah, by like talking to at least one person, like every day. It was like, okay.
That's neat.
Something.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Okay, listen, Tanner hit into the watch a long time ago, so I know we went over a little bit. That happens here more often than not. Thank you so much for coming.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Please come back again and again. Like every time we get together, it's just hours
Love
just
it.
up here and chatting. So
Yeah.
before you leave, though, everybody gets a shameless shout out. So the cameras are on you, the lights are on you, you got the mic. Have fun.
You know what? I think that the thing would people would plug their agencies. I've already plugged CMHA. My shameless shout out is going to be to my husband.
Okay.
And I think he's planning on coming on the show. But John Holloway, he's my rock. He is such an incredible human being. He's an incredible business in this community, and I just thank him for putting up with me. So that's my shameless shout out. Love you, baby.
There you go.
I think that's the first husband shout out.
That is.
We've had a lot of wives.
Yeah.
But I think you're the first wife to shout out a husband.
Listen, he deserves a shout out for putting up with me. So
That's awesome. Awesome. Okay, well, for McMurray Wood Buffalo, the rest of the world, that's been another episode of the Mac City Morning Show. Thank you so much for tuning in. I really do appreciate it. I hope you're having a nice day, and we'll see you tomorrow. Peace.
I said this. That's another Mac City Morning Show done.
It's so ballistic!
Talk about quenching your ugly thirst.